Nothing ever lasts. That's the way my dad saw things. Life had hardened him that way, I suppose. I want to take my son back to where my dad came from to try and understand why. Help him see how to go forward. Help us see what remains of who my father was, and help me reconcile his imperfect legacy and the one I'm passing on. His roots are in the wheat fields of eastern Kansas, a long way from Southern California, where I've raised my son. He was born here in Paola, the middle of nowhere, the heart of the country. In these kinds of towns, neighbors didn't need fences. Don't live in a home without a front porch, my dad would say. When he was 10, he stood here and watched his mother be buried and his family split apart. That was the last time they would all be together. She died in 1917. She was 45. Don't ever count on anyone but yourself, he'd say. By the time he was 18, he'd saved $1,000 working the railroads. Long days of back-breaking labor. That was a lot of money in 1925, but his earnings didn't last long. The cousins he lived with spent it all. Hang on to your money, he'd say. Other people want it. When the Depression hit, he hopped a freight train west to look for work. He ended up in Phoenix, Arizona, where he met my mother near the beginning of World War II. His first marriage didn't last. His second, to my mother, ended after 20 years. I was 7 and my family was split apart. I didn't see him much after that. If my father lost his hope along the way, I can see why. He walked much of his road alone. The years I had with him remain with me. I still make up funny songs for my kids, just like he did. I wonder, Micah, when I'm at the end of my road, will you hear my voice like I hear my dad's? If you have to throw a punch, make it count. Learn a trade. Work hard. Don't regret something you can't fix. Be honest, it's always best. Go ask your mother. He had a temper, too. It scared me when his anger came out of nowhere. It scares me more when I do the same to my son. But then there were my favorite words. I love you. These are the ones that last. They weren't just words. He'd back them up with time and interest and attention. Micah, how will you remember me? Will you think I'm average or something more? Will you have to reach back to my beginning to know me? Will my faults fade as you understand me more? Will you know the freedom forgiveness brings? Will you know I love you like my dad loved me? All three of us shared the same blood and build and even some habits. Though the sense of style might have skipped a generation. In the way we were made, our common design, there is power and beauty. In stature and thought and word and deed, my father was remarkably average. But to me, nothing about him was average. He was my dad. The things he said, the glint in his eyes, the stories of this little town where he began, all, to me, are remarkable. In the end, what defines a father is what he leaves behind. Maybe that's what I'm afraid of, or hoping for. Afraid the wrong things will stick, hoping the true things remain. If I could, I'd help my son to see the world differently than my dad did. If I could, I'd give my dad a moment with my son. He died before Micah was born. I'm always amazed when I see my father's mannerisms in Micah, and I wonder if Dad would recognize them. I wonder if he'd see himself, but more complete, without the losses and disappointments that defined him. I wonder if my dad would look into my son's eyes and realize that some things, some really good things, will last.